Hey everybody, welcome to Tuesday Night Live on Thursday with Rob. Tonight's topic, we're going to be talking about insanity is here. And we're going to dig pretty deep into this one. Sorry about that. We're going to dig pretty deep into this topic tonight and look at some things that just really bring this to light, even on a local level for a lot of us. But before we do that, I want to ask everybody that's watching tonight, please make sure you hit that subscribe button and the like button down below. Subscribing and liking our videos really helps our Google and YouTube algorithm and helps us to reach more people. So please make sure you hit that subscribe button. Now, after we got all that out of the way, let's jump into the topic tonight. Insanity is here. What do I mean by that? Insanity. It literally just that. Our mental institutions around the country have been closed. The people that generally in decades past were institutionalized because of their mental illness are now roaming the streets. These people, not all of them are bad, and I'll be the first to say we cannot judge all mentally ill people, as being bad or malicious or mean or evil, but there's a majority of people that are suffering from extreme mental illness that would do things that a normal, sane, rational person would not do. Okay, and we're gonna dig a little deeper into that with even some personal stories that I have kind of down below on that topic. But these insane people are now roaming the streets. They are a lot of your homeless. They are sometimes people that you work with that are maybe undiagnosed, that have mental issues, that take medication for having different mental illnesses. Schizophrenia is a huge one. And then we start talking about the drug use in our country. Fentanyl, heroin, cocaine. Those drugs will take a person that is normally sane and make sane, rational decisions and change that person into a completely insane, irrational person. And with these type of people, and here's the thing, if we're talking about fentanyl, heroin, and cocaine, it impacts every society, it impacts every community across the United States. These drugs have been being brought into this country for decades, and the whole war on drugs, if we want to talk about losing a war, that's a war that our country has lost, and lost big time. And by still allowing these drugs to be able to be brought into our country and to be distributed, on a nationwide scale, it all comes down to people who are looking at it's like it's money, it's money, it's money. But you know what? It's not money. It's people's lives that are at stake. And if you've ever been personally impacted by someone that has passed away from fentanyl overdose or a heroin overdose or a cocaine overdose, you understand exactly what I'm saying. These drugs are absolutely evil. They will make a very good person do very bad things, just like someone that is mentally insane. Someone that is addicted to these drugs will do the same things as an insane person to be able to get more money, to be able to get more drugs and continue to feed their addiction. Homelessness. Homelessness is rampant across our country in every area. Even here in the South where we live, we have huge tent communities where people live. And in the little town where I live, we had one pop up recently just a few miles from my house, and law enforcement was very quick to push these people off of this property and force them to vacate and leave where they were. It was private property, some of it, and some of the property was owned by the railroad company, or the railroad company had a right of way to the property. But the railroad company doesn't want these people near the tracks because they can obviously get hit by the train. And the community doesn't want people living on private property and trespassing. And guys, I'm telling you, this was something that happened for just 2 or 3 weeks, and the amount of garbage that was left in this area was absolutely staggering. It would shock you to see. And for those of you that live in California, in some of the major cities, you see this every single day. The amount of trash that is left behind. Listen, if you're homeless, that's fine. I understand. It happens, and it can happen to any of us. you fail at business, whatever, you lose your job, you lose your home, you don't have a place to live. Just because you're homeless doesn't mean you can't be clean, all right? But when you couple homelessness with mental illness and drug addiction, keeping yourself clean and keeping where you live clean is not a priority anymore. Like I was saying, not just California. California is the one that we all see on the news all the time, with Los Angeles and some of the other major cities, with the homelessness, with the tent cities, people living on the streets. And you know, some of that is because of the economy in California or the cost of living in California. It's too expensive for people to even live in an apartment, so it's cheaper for them to live on the street. But a lot of the people that you see portrayed in California on the news have some sort of mental illness, or they have some sort of drug addiction. And you know, it's sad to see. It's really sad to see that a state as beautiful as California would allow this to happen to their beautiful cities. One thing I wanted to talk about, my community where I live in Easley, just a couple of miles from my home, there's a Walmart. And this past Sunday, and this is really what kind of brought this entire topic to light for me, is something that I really felt strongly about talking about. This past Sunday, someone went into our Walmart, and this person was either mentally unstable or, you know, had a drug addiction. Not sure which. I haven't got all the details about it yet, but it was one of the two. They had a axe or a hatchet. They were threatening people with an axe or a hatchet. They evacuated the store. Law enforcement came on the scene and tried to get this person to try to de-escalate the situation, talk this person down. Law enforcement ended up shooting this person and killing this person that had an axe or a hatchet. Yes, it's a deadly weapon, okay? And when you don't comply to lawful orders and a law enforcement officer gives you, for whatever reason, be it a mental issue or a drug issue, and they feel like their lives are in danger, they have every right to be able to defend themselves, just like you and I would have every right to be able to defend ourselves. And I hate it for what happened for the individual. I hate it for their family. But at the end of the day, these law enforcement officers have families as well, and their goal at the end of the day is to be able to go home and see their families the same way that they left, happy and healthy. And you know, it's a horrible situation that someone had to lose their life. But guys, listen, this happened 2 miles from my house. Okay. This is a Walmart that is right beside an academy and a strip mall, some other stores and stuff. We frequent that area all the time. Myself, my wife, my kids. It's an area that we're at a lot. All right. My point of this is, this can happen in any community, at any time, at any area, and could directly impact you, your wife, your children, or your family. All right. You have to make sure that you are in a position to identify what's going on around you, and B, if need be, defend yourself and defend your wife and family. Or your wife defend you, or your wife defend herself. A lot of times our wives are the ones that's doing the grocery shopping, right? We're not going to the grocery store with our wives. Our wives are the ones that are there in the store doing the grocery shopping, and they need to be able to defend themselves. They need to understand how to recognize a situation and how to be able to defend themselves if it comes down to a life-threatening situation. The end of last week, I stopped by one of our local gun shops. I had picked up a couple of firearms from them, some stuff that the owner had that was his personal collection that he needed some work done to. Picked it up about a week ago, did the work and everything, took it back down to him and dropped it off. And as I'm walking out the door, this woman walks into the door. She's probably in her mid-50s. And it was obvious when she walked in the door that she was not in her right mind. But she walked into the door and she's talking completely out of her head, completely mentally unstable. And it was one of those situations where as soon as she walked in the door, I saw her, identified her, that she could potentially be a threat. And from the time that I started heading to the door, through the door, and out the door, I never took my eyes off of that woman. because that woman could have been a threat to me, right? I don't know what ended up happening with her in the store, if they ended up calling the police and having her arrested or having her removed from their store. I don't know. But the woman, that's twice in a week that I've had a situation within just a few miles of where I live where someone is either on drugs or mentally unstable that could very easily flip the switch and have a knife or a gun and attack me. And guys, listen, I live in a small town, in a small community. If it can happen here, it can happen anywhere in anyone's community, in anyone's town. Make sure that you are aware. Some of the big areas that we really need to be concerned about. Gas stations. Gas stations are a huge one. You pull up to the gas pump, you're putting gas in your car, you're thinking about all the things you need to do when you get home. You're thinking about all the things you need to do at work. Your mind is a million miles away from what you're doing, the task at hand, which is putting gas in your car, which is the worst possible place that your mind can be. You need to be paying attention and you need to be focused when you're at the gas station. Don't stand there with your back to the world while you're pumping gas, all right? Look around when you pull up to the pump. Get out of your vehicle and lock your vehicle. All right, you're like, why? I'm 3 feet from my door. Yes, you are. You're 3 feet from the driver's door. But guess what? You're 10 feet away from the passenger doors on your vehicle. And it's very easy for someone to open your door and get into your vehicle from the passenger side if you're not paying attention. Lock your doors when you get out of your vehicle. Put your card in the pump, whatever you need to do to get the gas going. When you get the pump off of the hook and you put it in your tank, put your back against the vehicle. That allows you to have a full view to your right, a full view to your left. No one is going to be able to ambush you if you have your back to the vehicle, right? You're going to be able to see a threat coming. And make sure that you have a way to defend yourself when you're at the gas pump. And listen, if you're anti-gun, whatever. If you're anti-knife, whatever. Have a lighter in your pocket. You've got a flamethrower in your hand, okay? At least have a lighter in your pocket so you can defend yourself against an attack at a gas station, okay? If you were like, I'm not carrying a gun, I'm not going to shoot somebody, I'm not carrying a knife, I don't know how to use one, carry a lighter. You've got a flamethrower. Don't be afraid to use it to protect your life and the lives of your family. Parking lots. Parking lots are a huge one. We see all the time where people are ambushed in a parking lot. If you go online, there's thousands and thousands of videos of people being ambushed in a parking lot, going to their vehicle, going to the store, people under the vehicles that grab them, people hiding around vehicles, around your vehicle and ambushing you, kidnapping you, raping you, murdering your family, murdering your wife, right? Pay attention in parking lots. Do not dilly-dally and don't lollygag going to your vehicle. When you come out of a store, stop at the front of the store and look around. Look at the parking lot, survey the parking lot. Look for people that could be potential threats in the parking lot. When you leave the front of the store going to your vehicle, don't lollygag. Make a beeline for your vehicle. Right? I'm not saying sprint to your car, but walk fast. Walk with intention. Walk with a purpose going to your vehicle. When you get to your vehicle, have your key fob in your hand, and as soon as you get to your vehicle, unlock your vehicle, put your stuff in the car, close the hatch, lock your vehicle back, dispose of your buggy if you have one, and get back in your vehicle and leave. But don't lollygag. Don't hang around in the parking lot, talking to your family that's with you. You're at the back of the car, you've got the hatch open, you're putting the groceries in, you're standing there talking. Don't do that. Load your vehicle with a purpose. Close your vehicle, keep your vehicle locked at all times if it doesn't have to be unlocked. Get in your vehicle, start the vehicle, and lock the vehicle back as soon as you get in it. Big box stores and grocery stores. This is a huge one, right? This is one that probably the two stores that the majority of us are in the most of the time. Big box stores and grocery stores. This can be your Lowe's, your Home Depot, your Publix, your Ingles, your Bi-Lo, whatever grocery store, your Kroger, whatever grocery stores you have, whatever sporting goods stores you have, your big box stores. When you go into these stores, guys, listen, your head needs to be on a swivel. If you start to turn down an aisle and you see somebody on that aisle that looks like they could be a potential threat, I don't care if you need 50 things off of that aisle. back out of that aisle and go down another aisle and get the stuff you need and come into that aisle from another angle and wait for that person to get out of the aisle that you're in. Listen, there's nothing wrong with profiling people, okay? I don't care what our government says. I don't care what the mainstream media says. There is nothing wrong with profiling people. Profiling is what is going to be the difference between you saving your life or you losing your life. Profile, recognize a threat or a potential threat and avoid it, all right? It's that simple. Avoid that situation, and it could buy you the seconds or minutes that you need to be able to get away and save your life or save the life of someone else. Malls and restaurants. With the economy as bad as it is, I don't care what the media says, the economy is terrible right now. Attendance is down at malls. Attendance is down at restaurants. You don't see the huge crowds at restaurants that we've seen in years past because it's expensive to go out to eat. It's expensive to go to the mall. But if you are at the mall or if you are at a restaurant, a few simple things, guys. When you go into a restaurant, look around, look at every single person that's in that restaurant and identify anyone that could be a potential threat or a potential ally in a bad situation. A lot of people don't think about that. A lot of people look around a restaurant and they say, okay, threat, 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 threat. A lot of people don't look around a restaurant and say, that person to have my back, that person to have my back, that person to have my back. Identify the good and the bad when you walk in. Don't sit with your back to the door where it will be very easy for someone to come up behind you that came in with a gun or a knife. All right. Face the door so you can watch the door and you can protect your family that's with you. Know where the emergency exits are in any place that you're in, be it a mall, restaurant, whatever. Know where the emergency exits are. If you have to escape and evade and you don't know where the exits are, you are what is commonly called SOL, right? And I'm sure most of you can figure out what that means. And if you can't, message me and I will tell you, but not something that I'm going to repeat on here. But know the exits, know where the exits are, know how to get out of a situation quickly and safely with your family, right? Huge, huge. Guys, listen, know how to recognize insanity, okay? It's like I tell my oldest son all the time, he'll start dating a girl and he'll bring her over for dinner or whatever. And I'm like, son, she's got the crazy eyes. And he'll smile and he'll say, I know. I'm like, that's the problem. You're missing the point. But listen, know how to recognize the crazy eyes, okay? Because being able to recognize the crazy eyes is something that can potentially save your life. Look at people's body language. Are they being aggressive? How are people acting? How are they talking? How are they speaking? Pick up body language. Body language signals are huge. A lot of times you can tell exactly what someone is thinking or not thinking, or how their mind is working based off of their body language, guys. Body language is huge, huge. In the military, the FBI, the Secret Service, CIA, all of these organizations are taught to read body language because body language is a huge tell that teaches you and shows you exactly what someone is thinking, exactly what they're considering doing before they ever do it. And that gives you an opportunity to be able to recognize that early on and be able to escape a situation, get out of a situation. So, big things. Some things we need to know. Situational awareness. I think that is one of those terms that's tossed around a lot, talked about a lot, and I don't think a lot of people really truly understand what situational awareness is. Situational awareness is being able to recognize and identify everything that's going on in your immediate area, okay? Your head's on a swivel. You're always watching people. It's like, I laugh and joke, we have the state fair here in South Carolina every year. And I told my wife, I was like, my favorite thing about going to the state fair is not the rides, it's not the food, it's people watching. You can learn so much from watching people at the state fair, just like going to your local Walmart, okay? You can learn a ton from watching the people at the Walmart, their behaviors, their mannerisms, how they act, how they react. Situational awareness is huge, okay? Make sure that you're always paying attention to what's going on in your immediate surrounding area. Keep your head on a swivel. This is another big one. You know, a lot of us, we pull up somewhere, we get out of our car at home. We get out of our car at home. You had a long day at work. You're in your safe space now, right? You pulled into your yard, you raised the garage door. You know, you're thinking about your work day, you're thinking about dinner, you're thinking about your kids, you're thinking about everything in the world except for the potential threat that could be hiding somewhere in your driveway. Right? When you pull up to an area, even if it's your own home, you pull up, you park, your car is still, the doors are still locked. You need to be looking around before you ever get out of your vehicle. And this doesn't matter if it's at your home, if it's at a gas station, anywhere you go. When you pull up, you're looking around and you're surveying your immediate area. And you're making sure that there is no threats in your immediate area before you ever get out of your vehicle. Once you deem the area safe, you get out of your vehicle, you lock your vehicle, and you go on about your business with your head still on a swivel, looking for potential threats. The next big one is identifying potential threats. If you see someone that could be a potential threat for whatever reason, be it their mannerisms, how they're acting, even, you know, as bad as it is to say, how they're dressed. You know, if someone is filthy, nasty, dirty, and I'm not talking about like your mechanic who's been at work all day, but I mean someone that is just unclean because of a potential mental disorder, you're probably going to want to avoid that person and avoid that area, okay? Not saying that person is good or bad, but this is part of identifying potential threats, right? The person hasn't done anything to exhibit any kind of outward signs that they are going to attack you or anything like that, but you have to visually look at people and make a determination if they are safe to be around or unsafe to be around. And if you deem that they're unsafe to be around, listen, it's okay to park somewhere else. It's okay to use a different exit or entrance into a restaurant or store, okay? But identify potential threats and listen to your gut. When you feel them little hairs stand up on the back of your neck, that's your body telling you that something's not right. A lot of people ignore those little signs. They ignore those cold chills, those goosebumps, the hair standing up on the back of their neck, that little premonition that says, hey, not right, not right. Listen to that little quiet voice inside you, because that little quiet voice inside you is smart and it knows what it's talking about, right? Our human beings have been on earth since the beginning of time, and our little quiet voice has kept us alive for a millennia. All right. Listen to it, identify it, and become very good friends with that little quiet voice, because it will not steer you wrong. Distance is your friend. If there's a potential bad situation, the best thing that you can do is create space, separation, and distance between yourself and that threat. The further away you are, the less likely or the more difficult it's going to be for that person to attack you. Don't care what they are. If they're on drugs, if they're mentally unstable, whatever. If they have a knife, they have a gun, they have a hatchet, they have an axe, they have a bow and arrow. Distance is your friend, right? If you identify a potential threat, put distance between you and that potential threat. First thing you need to do. Maintain visual contact. Like I was talking about earlier, when I left that gun shop this past week and I identified a potential threat, I never took my eyes off of that person. Because if that person would have decided to attack me, I'm only at that point 12 feet away from this person. That was as far as I could get away from that person to get to the only exit that was available to me in this store. But I never took my eyes off of this person for one reason and one reason only, because if they made a threatening move, I would be in a position to be able to defend myself. And, a lot of people are like, oh, I don't like to make eye contact with people. It's rude to make eye contact with people. Listen, your eyes are there for a reason. Use them. Do not be afraid to use your eyes, right? If you stare somebody down, smile. Put a friendly face on. Don't mean mug them. Put a friendly face on. Make them feel more relaxed and calm while you're looking at them. That's a very easy visual cue to destabilize or to de-escalate a situation. A smile goes a long way, even if they're mentally ill, mentally unstable. A lot of times that smile that you give them will allow you to walk out and get to your vehicle where everyone else is scowling at this person and they're looking at all this mentally insane person may be looking at all of those people as a threat, and they see you as a friend because you smiled, okay? Your body language can have a positive or negative impact on a situation as well, okay? So if it is a potential threat, a smile is an easy way to de-escalate a situation and give you a few seconds to be able to escape from that situation and create distance. Don't engage in conversation. This is a huge one. I think a lot of us are, I'm going to pick on people from New York a little bit, okay? People from New York they're mouthy. They say what they think. I love my friends from New York. They're the greatest people ever. But they are mouthy, all right? Look at our president. He has polarized the Republican Party because he's mouthy, right? It's just the personality of a lot of people from New York and a lot of other states in the country as well. But listen, that mouthy can cause a bad situation to become worse really quickly. I'm not a fan of engaging in conversation with someone that I deem as a threat. All right. For me, if I have to engage in conversation with someone that is a threat, while I'm creating distance and I'm creating separation, it's going to be a smile and it's going to be very simple one-word answers. Yes or no answers. If there's a question, hey, you got some money? No. With a smile, no, I don't have any money. No. Or just a no, no. And you're creating distance. You're moving away from this person while you have your eyes on them. Never, ever, ever take your eyes off of someone, okay? If you've deemed that person a threat, don't take your eyes off of them and turn your back to them. Don't engage in conversation and create separation. A lot of times it's difficult to know when somebody's going to go from quiet to loud to violent. We just don't know, especially with someone that is insane. Their escalation is different than ours. And this is one of those areas, again, where you keep your eyes on this person. You watch them. You watch their body language. And you create separation and you get yourself and your family away from that person. Guys, I don't know if a lot of you have heard, there's a rule of threes in a gunfight. Most gunfights happen very quickly. Most gunfights happen within 3 steps, 10 feet. Most gunfights are over in 3 seconds or less. Most gunfights, there's generally around 3 rounds that are fired. The rule of threes can help you win or lose a gunfight. 10 feet is not a lot of distance. 10 feet, someone can close 10 feet in under a second and be on top of you with a knife. Most of us cannot draw our handgun and have it ready to engage in under a second from a concealed position or even open carry. Okay, let's just be realistic about it. Most people are 2 seconds, maybe 3 seconds to get their gun out of their holster. This is where profiling, situational awareness, identifying a potential threat, creating distance and separation is going to help you, because it's going to allow you those extra seconds that you need to be able to get to your weapon to be able to defend yourself. Arm yourself and get trained. This is a big one, guys. Listen, I have carried for almost my entire life, all of my entire adult life, from the time I was in the Marine Corps, my civilian life, I have always trained and I have always carried. And I've probably taken it to a little bit of an extreme, some might say, with the amount of training that I do. But listen, if I never have to use a firearm in defense of my life, I've lived a good life. But if I ever have to use a firearm in defense of my life, I want to know that I am the best that I can possibly be in that situation. Okay. Get some training. Listen, I don't care how good you are. I don't care how good you think you are. If you're in law enforcement and you go to the range and you shoot a couple of times a year to qualify, guys, listen, get some training. Do some competitive shooting. Listen, competitive shooting doesn't teach you tactics and all of this stuff. What competitive shooting does do is it teaches you weapons handling skills at the highest level that you can possibly achieve under a little bit of stress from people watching and the shot timer. It teaches you how to handle your firearm with adrenaline. It teaches you how to handle your firearm if you do get an adrenaline dump and your vision shrinks down on you. What do you do when all of a sudden all you can see, you've got this tunnel vision and all you can see is what's right here in front of your face? All of this is just kind of blurry out beside you, right? There's a lot of things that you can learn from competitive shooting that you'll never ever learn from going to a square range and poking holes in paper at 25 yards. Right? I'm a huge fan of combat style training. I'm a huge fan of combat style competitive shooting sports. USPSA, IDPA, 3-gun, all of these, you will learn weapon handling skills at the highest level that there is. You'll shoot with people that have a skill level that's below you. You'll shoot with people that have a skill level that is way, way above your skill level. That you'll watch them shoot and it just looks like they're floating across the ground. It's effortless. It's like watching a professional athlete at the peak of their game perform. And that's really the goal that we should all be shooting for, guys, especially with our firearms and how fluid we are with them. Know how to defend yourself. Right? I'm a big fan of unarmed defense as well. There's a lot of you out there that have never been punched in the face. Okay. And you don't know how you would react. I love Mike Tyson's saying, it's probably one of the most prolific sayings I've ever heard in my entire life. Everybody has a plan until they get punched in the face. And that is so true. So true. Guys, if you've never done any type of physical sports, be it football or your combat sports, boxing, MMA, anything like that, listen, I strongly, strongly advise you to start taking some classes and learn how to use your hands. It's huge. Just some simple stuff that you can learn in just a few classes will really separate you from someone that is just a street fighter. Okay. But learn how to use your hands. Learn how to defend yourself in an unarmed attack as well as an armed attack. A lot of times a situation may not require a firearm, or you may be in a situation where you can't carry a firearm and you still may need to defend yourself. So go take some classes. MMA is awesome. Boxing is awesome. Karate, jiu-jitsu. There's so many different types of combat sports out there that you just need to get into some classes and take some classes, guys. It's going to help you with your cardio. It's going to help you with your endurance. It's going to help you with your strength. And it's also going to help you to be able to have the confidence that you need to be able to handle any type of situation that you're in. A violent encounter happens fast. Most of the time, if you're involved in a violent encounter, it's not going to be someone walking across the parking lot from 200 yards away and you've got minutes to wait for this to happen. It's going to be somebody popping up out of nowhere. All of a sudden they're inside your comfort zone and they're on you. And either they attack you without a weapon or they attack you with a weapon. This is where being prepared, this is where having your head on a swivel, your situational awareness is going to buy you those extra seconds that you need to be able to survive that attack. And guys, I'm telling you, if you've never been involved in a violent encounter, you don't understand how fast violence can happen. And one of the big things that a lot of people don't understand as well is if you are involved in a violent encounter, the only thing that you can do at that moment is react with more violence than what you're receiving. All right. And you can't hesitate. You can't be afraid. You can't take a moment and ponder. You have to react, and you have to react with a level of violence that will stop that attack or that threat. And if you don't know how to react with that level of threat and violence, that's where you need to start working on some training and getting some different training. Last big thing, guys, cover versus concealment. Know the difference. Cover is something you can get behind that will stop a bullet. Concealment is something that you can get behind that will hide you, right? It's the difference between me going on the other side of this wall here beside me and moving away and putting solid barriers in between me and a bullet, or me hiding behind curtains, okay? Curtains aren't going to stop a bullet. A wall could potentially stop a bullet. But you have to know the difference between cover and concealment, guys. It's huge. You know, the door on your car is concealment. It is not cover. The engine block and the wheels on your car is cover. Okay. The windshield is neither cover nor concealment, because a bullet can go through it and people can see through it. So think about things when you're driving down the road. Think about things that when you pull into a parking lot at a store, think about things that you can get behind that will give you cover from gunfire versus concealment. Cover will save your life. Concealment can cost you your life. You need to be able to hide. You need to be able to conceal yourself in places, but cover is much, much more important than concealment. Let's jump over here, and we're going to hit a few of our questions that we've got and a few comments, and then we'll hit our last topic and we will close out, guys. Lots of people on here saying, hey, Boxer Papa, good evening, Robbie. Thank you for your email response. Hey, guys, listen, if there's something that I don't cover on here tonight that you have a question about, please feel free to send me an email. You know, I try and respond back to the majority of the comments and stuff on YouTube as well. But if there's something that you have a question about and you want an answer to it, send me an email and I will get back to you. Mark Zhammer, this is an important episode, a must watch. Thanks, Mark. I appreciate it, bud. Michael says hello. Gerald Montanana, greetings from Las Vegas. Russ Michael, hello. Tomcat 941, I was crazy once. I believe we've all probably been a little crazy at some point in our life, but you know, with age and maturity, a lot of us grow out of that. Mark Zhammer says a TV crew in LA were filming a story about a fatal stabbing on a train by a homeless, and the news crew themselves were attacked by a homeless maniac and filmed it. Yeah, it's exactly what I'm saying. Listen, guys, it doesn't matter that you have a camera in your hand. If someone is addicted to drugs or mentally unstable, they will do things that are not sane and rational, and you have to be able to protect yourself and defend yourself. Russ Michael says, it isn't cruel or inhumane to ensure the mentally ill have safe refuge. It is both cruel and inhumane to let them be homeless. Russ, you know, I agree with you 1000%. I have said for decades that we need to provide a safe place for the mentally unstable to be able to get help, whether it's medical help, whether it's mental help, whatever, but they need a safe place where they can be, and not on the street in tent cities being exploited by people. Okay. There, a lot of times I think when our government ran institutions were in place, I think there was no oversight on those institutions and people were mistreated. I truly believe that we need institutions in our country for people. I truly believe that those institutions should be private, that they should be privately ran with private and government oversight on those institutions to make sure that people are being treated humanely and fairly. And you know, that's something that I believe very strongly in. These people need to have a place where they can go to get the help that they need, or a place where they can go and be taken care of because they're a danger to themselves and to others. We just don't have that now. Mark Zhammer says, California fentanyl dealers from Honduras are blending in with the homeless campers and are making thousands of dollars dealing, and they buy their mansions back in Honduras. Yeah, you know, we see that all the time with all of the fentanyl that's being brought across the border and is being distributed across our country and creating addiction across our country. It's one of the biggest things. Cocaine is one thing, marijuana is one thing, but the heroin and the fentanyl, the addiction from heroin and fentanyl, and the ability to easily overdose on this stuff because it's so powerful. We're seeing so many people die from this stuff and become addicted to it day after day in all of our societies. I'm sure that almost everyone watching tonight has either seen someone addicted to fentanyl or heroin, or knows someone personally that's addicted to fentanyl and heroin. And it is a terrible, terrible drug, guys. And we want to make sure that we are protecting ourselves from people, whether it's mental insanity or drug addiction. We want to make sure that we're protecting ourselves and our family. And that's the biggest thing I wanted to discuss tonight with everyone. Citispell says, good evening all, stack it to the rafters, Semper Fi, Robbie. Citispell, thank you for joining tonight. John G says, I feel bad for people in blue cities that can't defend themselves. John, you're exactly right. And we see that here in South Carolina where we live now, the influx of people from blue cities that have the means to be able to pack up their household and leave, or leaving these blue cities in droves and moving to red cities where it's safe, where they have a voice again, where they have community again. Guys, and listen, I am 100% all for anyone that is trapped in a blue city moving out and moving south, as long as you don't bring those blue city politics with you, because the biggest thing that we don't want is to continue to spread what's happening in the blue cities to other cities across our country. Mark Zehammer says, John G, big cities in California, it's sharpened edges they carry. Guns are not easy for them to get being homeless. And Mark, you're exactly right. And a knife, guys, listen, a knife is very fast to deploy, and someone can be on you in a second with a knife. We were doing some training a few years ago at 30 feet, and we had someone at 30 feet with a blue knife, and we were using simunitions and airsoft for the training weapon. And that person at 30 feet, at their choice, whenever they were ready, that person 30 feet away would take off toward you at a dead sprint and yank a knife out. And from 30 feet away, as good as I am with a firearm, as fast as I am with drawing a firearm, that person was 5 or 6 feet away before I deployed the firearm and started putting rounds on him. And I am very fast with a firearm. I'm very good with a firearm. I have trained for decades with one. But 30 feet, if that person was 20 feet away, I would have went hands-on with them. I would have never had time to get a firearm out. And, things happen that fast. And that's why we have to have our head on a swivel and understand and recognize dangerous situations. Don't just stand on the X. If someone runs at you, don't run toward them. Don't run away from them. You move to the right or you move to the left. Get off of the X. But moving laterally instead of horizontally will buy you more time than moving vertically forward or back. Okay. So if you need more time to get your weapon out, move to your right very quickly. Move to your left very quickly. But don't move forward and back. Get off the X, right or left. That will give you the opportunity, buy you another second or two to get your firearm out to be able to defend yourself. John G says, I don't care what they use as a weapon. I'll keep my firearm for self-defense. And guys, my wife and I, we would love to go to California for vacation, but I refuse to go to a state that I cannot carry a firearm to defend myself legally. So we just don't go there. If I can't go somewhere and I can't carry a firearm to defend myself or defend my family from a potentially violent encounter, I'm not visiting that state or that area. That's my personal opinion about it, but it just is what it is. I'm not going somewhere where I'm going to be defenseless. Bill Cool Mountain says, just got in from shooting my Glock clone in P320, still got all body parts. That's awesome. Glad the 320 survived. And Bill Cool Mountain says, won't distance, eat garlic, lots of garlic. Well, that might work for vampires, but I don't know how well that would work for someone that's potentially mentally insane or on drugs. Robert Picard Jr. says, "Hi, Robbie. I just made it home from work. Traffic sucks in the triangle, especially when you are 27,000 empty. Counselor Chip, Robbie finally catching part of a live show. About to start teaching my wife and daughter's gun safety and how to shoot." Counselor Chip, that is awesome. I'm so proud of you for taking the initiative to teach your wife and your children gun safety. You know, that was something in my household with my wife. She had never been around firearms when we started dating or when we got married. And it was one of the first things that I did with her was get her out to the range and get her comfortable shooting. My boys, as soon as they were old enough to start learning gun safety, we started with Nerf guns. We graduated up to airsoft, then BB guns, and then powder-fired cartridges at that point. But I started gun safety with them when they were 3 years old because I wanted them to be very, very familiar with firearms, how to use them, as well as how dangerous they can be if they're misused. So, Counselor Chip, that's an awesome job, dude. I'm so proud of you for taking the initiative to teach your family how to use a firearm. Robert Picard Jr. says, "Hi, Bill. You can call me Rob. Gerald Montanona in the U.S. Army while deployed. For more situational awareness, pay attention to your 0, 5, and 25, meaning notice all around you in 0, 5, and 25 meters for 360 degrees. Absolutely right. Absolutely right. For me, it's that 30-foot circle. Anything inside of that 30-foot circle, it could be a potential threat. So anyone that I recognize that could be a potential threat, I want to keep that person outside of my 30-foot space, because that 30-foot space gives me a comfortable margin to be able to draw a firearm and defend myself if I need to. So 25 meters that's a good buffer, because 25 meters gives you a lot of time to be able to draw a firearm to be able to defend yourself. Bill Cool Mountain says, "I'm going to ask my neighbor to punch me in the face for the experience needed." Highly recommended. Highly recommended. If you've never been punched in the face, listen, I strongly recommend you taking some defensive courses to where you can be struck in the face in a controlled environment. All right. The worst thing that you could ever do is get punched in the face for the first time in your life in a violent encounter, because the way that you think you would react is probably going to be completely different from how you would actually react. So listen, if you've never been punched in the face, I do strongly recommend you take some boxing, some kickboxing, any type of striking defensive course that you can experience that in a controlled environment and learn how to react properly in that type of situation. Robert Picard Jr. says that's a painful way to get some experience. Bill Cool Mountain says, "Yeah, but it won't cost me anything like joining a martial arts school. Maybe a tooth. Hey, we got a mouthful, right? What's one tooth among friends?" James Dunn says, "I still do crazy stuff. God and guns call me cynical, but it doesn't matter if the government or private businesses run institutions. People will always be taken advantage of because people are greedy." God and guns, you could very well be right about that. But listen, even if a few people were taken advantage of in an institution, it would still be 1,000 times better than the people that are being taken advantage of that are mentally unstable and homeless in our society today. Counselor Chip says, "I'm sober 13,454 days, 36 years and 10 months. That's awesome, dude. That is awesome. Yeah, Counselor Chip says, "Get off the X like the Roadrunner always did." That's exactly right. Russ Michael, "I was stationed in Charleston in 77 through 79. Loved South Carolina. My only bad memory was having my motorcycle stolen while at the beach on the Isle of Palms." Isle of Palms is a beautiful, beautiful area. For those of you that have never been there, it's a beautiful little beach area. Mostly private homes. There's a couple of hotels and a couple of restaurants, but it's mostly private. But it is a beautiful, beautiful beach. And Charleston is probably one of my favorite places in the country that I've been to go, especially for the food. I absolutely love the food in Charleston. Boxer Papa says, Robbie, you're spot on about not traveling to areas or states where you can't protect yourself. Simply don't go there. Yeah, it's that. It's just that simple. Mark Zhammer says, Golden Gloves gave boys that first punch in the face experience early on. Yes, guys, I'm telling you, I am a huge fan of boxing. All right, I think boxing is one of the greatest striking sports that there is. It's not the be all end all, but boxing is a great starting point for learning how to defend yourself. It teaches you how to keep your hands up. It teaches you how to avoid being hit in the face, right? Somebody throws a haymaker at you and you either know how to avoid it or you need to know how to block it and be able to counter immediately. So there's a lot of great things that you can learn from boxing. Boxing is a tremendous sport. And listen, I don't care what weight the gloves are, 12, 14, 16, 18 ounce gloves. If you get hit in the face, it still stings, okay? But not in a bad way. It's a great way to learn. So please, listen, if you've never been involved in any type of striking sports like that, go out and get some training, guys. You'll be surprised how much you enjoy it. Our last comment tonight, Devil Dog Prepper. Good evening, jarheads and non-jarheads. Devil Dog Prepper, great to have you on tonight, bud. Like I was talking about earlier, insane people and people that are addicted to drugs, guys, you never know what their mental capacity and their mental state is, if they are going to do something violent or non-violent. Gangs, drugs, gas stations, parking lots, big box stores, grocery stores, malls, restaurants. These are all places that we always have to be aware, situationally aware, with our head on a swivel, watching and profiling people to be able to protect ourselves. Guys, thank you all for watching tonight. Please make sure once again that you hit that subscribe button down below and the thumbs up. It helps us with the Google algorithm and the YouTube algorithm, and it helps us to reach more people. Thank you all for watching tonight. God bless you all. We'll see you next